Hi everybody, and welcome to the first lecture that you're going to be listening to from home. This lecture deals with human evolution and migration out of Africa. If you're interested, you can also take a look at some other approaches to human development and the creation of the world, and there are some stories on the website that you can take a look at. You can compare creation stories from different societies. But for the purposes of this class and for the purposes of the AP exam, we're going to be looking at human evolution. So the first thing you need to know is that Homo sapiens, or humans, appeared in Africa about 200,000 years ago. And so this is a dominant theory about human evolution today. If you take a look at the PowerPoint, it gives you some approximate dates in which scientists believe the universe and the Earth were created. And then about 23 million years ago, you see that we are starting to have the evolution of the African apes. And so scientists believe that humans evolved from African apes, and we share a common heritage. About 100,000 years ago, humans began to leave Africa and populate the rest of the planet. And during that process, all other human species died out. And today, there is only one human species, Homo sapiens sapiens. So it's really important to establish that different human races are not biologically determined, meaning that differences among humans today are cultural. They have nothing to do with different species, and there's actually just one species of human on the planet. And in fact, when they have studied genetics, they have found that there is not one genetic trait that they can definitively classify for members of any race. So what that means is that any person of any race could potentially have genetic material from other races. And again, we're just one people, one human race. So in terms of how humans evolved, all of our evidence of human evolution comes from Africa, and there are some hominids that came before humans. We have found fossils of hominids in Africa, and then eventually about 1.8 million years ago, we have humans, and there are different species of humans that we are talking about, but they do have the name Homo, which means human. And then by about 200,000 years ago, we have Homo sapiens, and give or take. And then by about 35,000 years ago, we have modern humans, so Homo sapiens sapiens. So a little bit about hominids. Here's Lucy, famous hominid, and she is different from the great apes in the fact that she can walk on 2 feet. She has bipedalism, and she uses her opposable thumbs, has higher dexterity than most African apes, and is believed to have lived in social groups and have some metacognitive abilities. She can think about herself, she has self-awareness, and she can use tools to a higher degree than most African apes. After the hominids, you have some human species actually being found. And so we have Homo habilis, one of the first humans, and Homo erectus, one of the most successful humans. And humans share some characteristics. And one of the most important things that they can do is that they can use tools and create tools. We do not believe that these early humans are related to modern humans. So, in other words, we believe that modern humans evolved separately. But some of the features that eventually evolved with modern humans, you start seeing in some of these other human species. One of the things that they did was allomothering, which means that they took care of babies for extended periods of time, and multiple people in a social group might be taking care of babies. Most other animals have babies that are more developed than human babies. And so human babies need to be taken care of for a very long time. By the time that we get to Homo erectus, bipedalism is found exclusively, and that allows humans to use their hands for other tasks. So they do not need to use their hands for walking, and this allows them to start making and creating other tools and other things. Eventually, by about 100,000 years ago, we have the evolution of Neanderthals. And Neanderthals are another species of human, and they actually existed at the same time as regular modern humans existed. They are not genetically related to modern humans, but some scientists have argued that they have mated with Homo sapiens and that some Homo sapien DNA came from Neanderthals, maybe about 4%. Neanderthals are way more advanced than other species of humans, and they have language, they can communicate, but their speech is more limited. They're a little bit slower than modern humans, less agile, and eventually Neanderthals go extinct, whereas modern humans are able to thrive and succeed. So, eventually we get Homo sapiens, and Homo sapiens have one feature that kind of sets them apart from all of these other humans, and that is complex linguistic expression. They can speak and they can use language to create things, imaginary things, which definitely give them an edge because they are able to organize to a greater extent than any other humans can. And like I mentioned before, they do live at the same time as Neanderthals, but eventually they have the edge and Neanderthals disappear where humans thrive. Okay, so you do need to understand that language development is extremely important, and it allows humans to organize themselves into communities. They can plan for the future, and language evolution is probably one of the last things to develop. We do have some examples of proto-language that exist today, and so linguists are able to use this to kind of track down language families and kind of figure out where our human language comes from. And this map basically gives us the breakdown of the major language groups. The one that we'll probably be talking about mostly is Indo-European, Turkic, and I believe the Caucasian includes the Semitic languages. So those are the ones that we'll mostly be focusing on, and especially when we talk about the Indo-European groups that share the same language. Okay, so take a moment to think about what made Homo sapiens the superior human species. Good. You should have said that they are fast, they're agile, they have a big brain that allows for abstract thought, and then they have language that they can actually use that language in order to communicate and make plans and develop these imagined orders that did not exist among any other humans. Okay, so now we're going to look at human migrations. And there had been other humans that had migrated, including Homo erectus, but modern humans populated all parts of the earth. So it's believed that they left Africa about 100,000 years ago, migrated into Asia about 60,000 years ago, and into Europe and Australia about 40,000 to 50,000 years ago, and into the Americas about 15,000, 16,000, give or take, to 8,000 years ago, depending on which book you read. One of the things that we believe is that they followed the herds of large mammals, and that climate change potentially was the driver for a lot of these migrations. Humans made large animals extinct. This is especially evident in Australia and the Americas. With the arrival of humans, big animals that had existed completely died out. When humans reached Australia, that is a major milestone because it implies that humans had to create boats and they traveled by sea to Australia. In order to arrive in Japan, they crossed the ice bridge, and in Beringia in the Americas, they also crossed the land bridge. But it's interesting because they do believe that some of the last migrations into the Americas were done by boat. By about 12,500 years ago, there's evidence of humans in Chile. So humans have populated the planet. And here we have a map that shows us these migrations. Polynesia was populated much later, and we'll be talking about that later on.